On the night of March 13, 1997, the skies over Arizona were clear. A calm evening with no storms, no unusual weather, and excellent visibility across the desert. Shortly after sunset, residents began noticing something unusual in the sky. Not noise, not movement, just lights bright, steady, and arranged in a formation that didn't match any known aircraft. From small towns to the outskirts of Phoenix, people stepped outside to look. The lights moved slowly across the sky, visible for several minutes at a time. No aircraft were reported in the area at that moment. No military operations were scheduled. Yet thousands of witnesses across the state saw the same formation. What happened that night would become one of the largest mass sighting events in modern history, a case still debated, still studied, and still unexplained. March 13, 1997, began as a typical spring evening in Phoenix. Temperatures were mild, and the sky remained clear as daylight faded over the desert. Across the city, residents settled into their routines. There were no alerts, no unusual weather patterns, and nothing to suggest the night would be remembered decades later. Air traffic over Arizona followed standard routes. Commercial flights, private aircraft, and routine military operations moved normally through the region. But shortly after 7:30 p.m., the first reports of unusual lights began to surface. They came from the northern part of the state, the beginning of a much larger event. These early sightings would soon spread across hundreds of miles, involving thousands of witnesses, and creating one of the most documented mass sighting events in modern history. The first reports came from Henderson, Nevada, shortly after 7:30 p.m. A witness described a row of bright lights moving steadily across the sky, heading southeast toward Arizona. Minutes later, residents in Paulden, Arizona, reported a similar formation. They described 5 lights arranged in a triangular pattern, moving silently across the sky. Witnesses noted that the lights were bright, steady, and unusually large. No sound accompanied the formation, and no aircraft were identified in the area. As the lights continued south, more calls were made to local authorities. The formation was moving towards central Arizona, where thousands more would soon see it. These early sightings formed the beginning of a continuous path, a trajectory that would stretch more than 300 miles across the state. At 7:30 p.m., a witness in Henderson, Nevada, reported a row of bright lights moving steadily across the sky. The formation was silent and heading southeast toward Arizona. Around 8 p.m., residents in Paulden, Arizona, reported 5 lights arranged in a triangular pattern. They moved slowly without sound and remained visible for several minutes. By 8:30 p.m., witnesses in Prescott and Prescott Valley described a massive V-shaped formation. The lights appeared attached to a single, solid structure, blocking out the stars behind it. Around 8:45 p.m., the formation reached Phoenix. Thousands of residents reported seeing a large, silent object moving slowly over the city. By 10 p.m., reports near Luke Air Force Base described bright lights in the sky. Some witnesses claimed aircraft were scrambled, though official records did not confirm this. At 10:30 p.m., the military conducted a flare drop over the Barry Goldwater Range. These flares were visible from Phoenix, but occurred long after the earlier sightings. In Prescott Valley, a well-known witness described the lights as part of a single, massive object. He said the formation moved slowly and silently, blocking out the stars behind it. A family in Phoenix reported seeing a large V-shaped formation pass directly over their neighborhood. They described the object as enormous, moving low and without any sound. A Phoenix police officer, off duty at the time, reported seeing the same formation. He described the lights as otherworldly, noting their steady movement and unusual size. A commercial airline pilot, flying near Phoenix, reported seeing bright lights in a formation. He noted that the lights did not match any known aircraft or flight pattern. Years later, Arizona Governor Fife Symington stated that he had also seen the lights. He described the object as massive, calling it one of the most unusual things he had ever witnessed. Many witnesses described the lights as being attached to a single, solid structure. They reported that the object was large enough to obscure stars as it passed overhead. The formation was often described as V-shaped, with lights positioned at each point of the structure. Witnesses noted that the lights remained perfectly aligned as the object moved. Reports consistently mentioned that the object moved slowly and without sound. Its steady pace and silent flight did not match any aircraft behavior. Some witnesses estimated the object to be enormous, stretching hundreds of feet across. Though exact measurements were impossible to get, the scale was described as far larger than conventional aircraft. Despite the size and visibility of the formation, no radar records or official aircraft reports matched what witnesses saw. The object's origin and nature remain unknown. In the hours after the sightings, local authorities received dozens of calls. But no official explanation was given that night, and no aircraft were reported in the area. The following day, military officials stated they had no operations matching the lights seen across Arizona. No training flights, no exercises, and no aircraft formations were listed. Arizona Governor Fife Symington held a press conference addressing the event. Symington later stated that he had personally seen the lights. He described the object as massive, calling it one of the most unusual things he had ever witnessed. Despite public pressure, no official report was released that fully explained the formation seen by thousands. The event remained open, with questions still unanswered. He acknowledged the public concern, but offered no definitive explanation at the time. The United States Air Force later stated that the lights seen around 10:30 p.m. were flares dropped during a training exercise over the Barry Goldwater Range. These flares were suspended from parachutes and burned brightly as they descended, creating a line of lights visible from miles away. The flare drop occurred more than 2 hours after the first sightings. This timing placed the military explanation only at the end of the night's events. While the flares matched some of the later lights seen near Phoenix, they did not align with the earlier formation witnessed across hundreds of miles. The flare explanation addressed only one part of the night. The larger, silent V-shaped formation seen earlier remained unexplained. The flare explanation addressed the lights seen near Phoenix around 10:30 p.m. But it did not account for the earlier formation witnessed across hundreds of miles. Witnesses described a massive, silent V-shaped object moving slowly overhead. This structure did not match the behavior or appearance of military flares. Flares drift, flicker, and descend. The formation seen earlier moved steadily, maintained its shape, and appeared to travel as a single object. The timing also raised questions. The flare drop occurred more than 2 hours after the first sightings, making it unlikely to explain the entire event. Despite official statements, many witnesses remained convinced that what they saw was not flares, aircraft, or anything familiar. Their accounts continued to challenge the official explanation. To this day, the Phoenix lights remain one of the most debated mass sighting events in modern history. The questions raised in 1997 have never been fully resolved. On March 13, 1997, thousands of people looked into the night sky and saw something they could not explain. Their accounts remain among the most consistent mass sightings ever recorded. The official explanations addressed only part of the night's events. The larger formation, silent, massive, and seen across hundreds of miles, remains unresolved. Decades later, witnesses still describe the same details, A structured object, a perfect formation, and a quiet movement across the sky. Whether the lights were aircraft, flares, or something unknown, the Phoenix Lights remain a rare moment of shared mystery. A night when thousands saw the same phenomenon. And as time passes, one question continues to echo across Arizona's desert sky. What exactly moved above the state that night? For many, the answer remains simple. They saw something real, something structured, and something still unexplained. If you've ever witnessed something unusual in the sky, share your experience in the comments. Every story adds another piece to the puzzle. And if you'd like to see more documentaries like this, consider subscribing for future episodes.